Mountain Lake, WXLG North Creek, WXLB Boonville, WXLD Lowville, WXLQ in Bristol, Vermont, and WXLE in Indian Lake. It's 8 o'clock. Good morning. This is Northern Light for Friday, June 2nd. I'm Monica Sandreski. Todd is away today. The U.S. Senate passed a bill to raise the debt ceiling last night. That could have a big impact on the food stamp program.
I mean, it's going to increase the amounts of food insecurity.
More details from Lucy Grindon coming up. Also on the show, the city of Plattsburgh will start covering YMCA sports registration fees this fall for its young residents under the age of 12.
It's not just during the nice summer months and the nice spring months that we have now, but it is also based on what we do in the wintertime, because we do have an active population that does look for recreational opportunities in the winter.
We'll take a paddle on the Missisquoi National Wildlife Refuge north of Burlington and check out some of the work from teen artists now on display in Glens Falls.
Art is an important part of everyone's existence, whether or not it's something that you try out for an escape, or it's something that helps you work through something else. It's maybe something that helps you think about something in a different way, but that art really is essential.
All of that is coming up on Northern Light. Stick with us. Support for North Country Public Radio comes from the Depot Theater Westport, a professional equity theater in the Adirondacks celebrating its 45th season, depottheater.org, and by St. Lawrence Health, offering MyCare, a way for patients to access health information and stay connected to their care team. Registration is available at stlawrencehealthsystem.org. Northern Light. I'm Monica Sandreski. The U.S. Senate passed a bill to raise the debt ceiling last night. The bill passed the House of Representatives earlier this week, and both of the North Country's House representatives, Republicans Elise Stefanik and Claudia Tenney, voted in favor of it. In a statement on Twitter, Stefanik called the bill, quote, the largest deficit reduction bill in American history, and said it would, quote, restore fiscal sanity and rein in reckless spending. As part of the deal, Republicans negotiated a change to SNAP, the food stamp program. Under the new rule, more adults without children will have to find work in order to qualify for the food benefits. Previously, the age cutoff for the work requirement was 49 years old. Lucy Grindon has more details.
If this new rule becomes law, anyone 54 or younger who's deemed able-bodied and doesn't have kids would have to work or be in a job training program in order to get SNAP benefits. But the change wouldn't take effect in New York right away. Teresa Gaffney is the commissioner of the Jefferson County Department of Social Services.
Right now, for this population, this requirement is waived, and that waiver goes through February of 24.
The state got that waiver of SNAP work requirements because of pandemic unemployment rates. It means that at least through February 2024, no one in New York can lose their SNAP benefits because they're not working. But after that, those 54 and under would only be allowed 3 months of SNAP every 3 years.
If they are not employed after that 3 months, or they're not participating in an employment activity, they will lose it. They will lose the SNAP benefits. And with food prices the way they are right now, I think this is going to be even more difficult.
I mean, it's going to increase the amounts of food insecurity.
Andrea Montgomery of the St. Lawrence County Office for the Aging says some people between 49 and 54 could lose food benefits they rely on. Her office delivers meals to older people. Clients don't have to be below a certain income level to be eligible for the meals, but they do have to be old enough.
Our funding specifically starts at 60. But, as I say that, at the same time, we're not going to know about someone and let them not have access to food. So while we might not deliver to them, we would help get them hooked up with a regular source of food.
Montgomery says people will have to turn to other local organizations for help.
Food pantries, your neighborhood centers, a lot of local churches do distribution. So I think all of them would see an increase in demand for their services.
The adjusted SNAP work requirements will not apply to veterans or unhoused people. Lucy Grindon, North Country Public Radio.
The Messina man charged with killing SUNY Potsdam student Elizabeth Howell last Friday has pled guilty to second-degree murder. 32-year-old Mike Snow entered his guilty plea yesterday morning, according to a press release from the St. Lawrence County District Attorney's Office. The judge has committed to sentencing Snow to a minimum of 22 years in prison with a possible maximum of life in prison. The sentencing will take place at the end of July. New York state law prevents you from buying wine at your local grocery store. Now, grocery stores are trying to change that again. WNYC's John Campbell reports from Albany.
Holding court outside the Senate lobby in the state capitol, Nelson Eusebio has one clear message.
We're here today in Albany promoting wine in supermarkets.
Eusebio is with the National Supermarket Association, which represents stores like Food Town and Key Food. They're fighting for the right to add wine to their shelves, which is pretty common elsewhere and would help boost their bottom line. New York is one of 11 states that prohibit grocery stores from selling wine. Instead, that right belongs exclusively to liquor stores like Michaeltown Wine and Spirits in Brooklyn Heights. Owner Michael Carrera wants to keep things just the way they are.
I've been involved in this battle I've owned my store for almost 30 years.
Carrera also heads the Metropolitan Package Store Association, a liquor store organization. He says letting grocery stores sell wine could put him out of business.
You'd certainly see them kick out Campbell's cans of soup and put, 200, 300 wines in there. There would be morons not to.
Supermarket owners have been trying to change the law for decades. The effort really picked up steam in 2010. That's when the Wegmans grocery chain, which has a big presence upstate, put its weight behind a bill, but it still didn't pass. The issue even has its own nickname, WIGS, for wine in grocery stores.
WIGS would, I believe, maybe not put them all out of business, but would put many, many, many mom-and-pop liquor stores out of business.
That's Senator James Skoufis, a Democrat from the Hudson Valley. He's a key player. Any wine bill would have to go through his committee to pass. He says New York is right to keep wine out of grocery stores.
Some other states, there are no mom-and-pop liquor stores. You get your liquor from Costco. You get your liquor from Sam's Club.
Wegmans and other grocers are supporting a new bill that would allow them to sell wine, but it would exclude the big box stores. Still, it's a long shot this year. Senator Liz Krueger of Manhattan introduced that bill, and she knows it may take some time to build support.
If there's enough momentum for it, great. Happy to bring it to the floor, but I don't sincerely know where leadership is or where the governor is.
The state legislature's annual session is scheduled to end June 8th. John Campbell, WNYC News.
The city of Plattsburgh and the local YMCA plan to launch a new sports programming partnership for city youth this fall. Kara Chapman has more.
The city estimates that nearly 300 of its young residents under 12 play soccer, baseball, and basketball through the Plattsburgh YMCA. Beginning this fall, the city will cover their registration fees.
This is something that we've been trying to work on regionally for probably a good year now.
Plattsburgh Mayor Chris Rosenquist says the program expands the city's existing partnership with the Y. The organization has a second location at the city's former rec center on the U.S. Oval and uses sports fields throughout the city for some of its programming. In a statement, Plattsburgh YMCA CEO Justin Ein said his organization is excited about the new program. He said, quote, "In the end, it's about getting more kids active and fostering activities that promote working together, leadership, and increase confidence and self-esteem." Rosenquist sees the new program fitting into the city's overall approach to recreation. He says it requires a global perspective, incorporating not just sports, but also things like biking infrastructure, trails, and park improvements.
And it does also need to include year-round as well. It's not just during the nice summer months and the nice spring months that we have now, but it is also based on what we do in the wintertime because we do have an active population that does look for recreational opportunities in the winter.
Rosenquist estimates the registration fees will cost the city about $35,000 a year. It's expected they'll be covered by $160,000 in annual savings from taking the Crate Civic Center out of service. It's currently being demolished. The mayor says the remaining funds haven't been earmarked for anything specific. Kara Chapman, North Country Public Radio.
Keep up with news from NCPR throughout the day at our website, ncpr.org. You can also follow the station on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter. You're listening to Northern Light here on North Country Public Radio. It's about 10 after 8. Good morning. I'm Monica Sandreski. Stick around. We'll meet some of the teen artists and hear from them. Their work is currently on display at the Hyde Collection in a juried art exhibit in Glens Falls. Students from throughout the Southern Adirondacks submitted, and we'll find out more about the winners coming up in just a few minutes right here on Northern Light, which is supported by Barstow Subaru Potsdam, committed to the safety and security of all-wheel drive. Details at barstowsubaru.com, and by the Adirondack Foundation, helping people and family build a legacy of generosity for the Adirondacks. AdirondackFoundation.org. Music now by Billy McManus out of Brockville, Ontario. I hope you're loving it as much as I am. He is part of the Underscore Project. That's NCPR's project that showcases regional musicians by sharing their music during programs like Northern Light and Morning Edition and All Things Considered. And if you're a musician and would like to participate in the Underscore Project, email to learn more, radio@ncpr.org. With the hot weather catapulting us into summer, it's suddenly prime paddling season. NPR's Brian Mann, longtime NCPR reporter, sent an audio postcard from the Missisquoi National Wildlife Refuge north of Burlington, Vermont, a place that is a haven for birds of all kinds.
We set off at first light, paddling with the current down the Missisquoi River. And almost at once, we're in a different world.
It's not like there's a bird song here and a bird song there. It's just this kind of wash of sound.
My paddling partner today, my guide really, is Catherine Seidenberg. She grew up here in Vermont. She's an experienced outdoorswoman and naturalist, and it's her canoe carrying us into the wildness.
It's a little bit more magical being on the river, to see the world in a way that we just wouldn't naturally. I guess that's what it is.
Catherine moves us with small, skillful touches of her paddle through islands of grass and ostrich ferns. The Missisquoi National Wildlife Refuge was created in the 1940s as a habitat for migratory birds, and there are birds everywhere. We see great blue herons stalking their prey. A kingfisher flies a kind of curtsying path along the riverbank. As the sun climbs, red-winged blackbirds move in the grass so close they can perch on the edge of our paddles.
The sun is shining right through these fresh leaves and ferns. There is a kind of stained glass window light falling over us.
As the Missisquoi flows into Lake Champlain, it unravels into wetlands, swamps, veins of narrow water. It looks more like a bayou in Louisiana than a New England river.
The water's high enough that the forest is flooded here, and so we're paddling in among the trees.
This part of the trip is extraordinary. Catherine guides the canoe into the forest, into a shadowy maze of maple and oak. We're no longer looking at the wildness, we're in it. Under the tree canopy, the spring warmth fades, and you can feel the cold of the snowmelt river. A big woodpecker sounds, and then a flight of geese.
It's a rare opportunity to be in a totally wild place like this. And also you have to brave water and cold and wind.
We turn back into the shelter of the marsh, and I ask Catherine why she comes to places like this.
I guess the quiet and the solitude. It's open and peaceful, and mostly it's wild.
The sun is high overhead now and warm, almost like summer. Before heading for home, we just float a while, drifting and listening. Brian Mann, NPR News, on the Missisquoi River in Vermont.
Brian's audio postcard first aired earlier this week on NPR's Morning Edition. You're listening to Northern Light here on North Country Public Radio. I'm Monica Sandreski. It's about 8:17. Good morning. In just a minute, we'll get caught up on some of the events happening throughout the region. Then stick around after that for news headlines from NPR just ahead at 8:30. At last check, it was 62 degrees in Adams and 64 degrees in Fort Covington, 57 degrees in Indian Lake. This morning, a chance of showers in the Champlain Valley, but for most of the region, sunny skies today and throughout the weekend. Highs in the mid to upper 80s for much of the region today. A chance of thunderstorms overnight tonight. Thunderstorms and showers are likely for much of the region. That is expected to cool things off as we head into Saturday and Sunday, with highs in the upper 60s to the 70s on Saturday and around 70 degrees on Sunday. And for a look at how that impacts the trail conditions in the Adirondacks as you head out this weekend, here's John Warren with the New York Almanac.
Looks like there are a couple much-needed rain showers in the forecast, but otherwise a nice weekend ahead. There is still some sloppy snow and mud at the highest elevations, and wind chill temperatures on high peak summits are expected to be into 30s tomorrow and near freezing Sunday. The mud season advisory remains in effect, so it's best to keep below about 2,500 feet this weekend. It will be very busy at the most popular trailheads. The Route 73 shuttles are not yet running, meaning parking will be at a premium. Visit one of the thousands of other wild places in the Adirondacks this weekend to avoid those hassles. The fire danger is high. Use extreme cautions with open fires this weekend. Leaving an even smoldering fire unattended is against the law. Forest rangers and local fire departments have spent the last week suppressing numerous wildfires around New York State. The U.S. Drought Monitor is reporting that all of Washington County is now abnormally dry, and rivers and streams are running well below normal for this time of year. The Hudson River is expected to be just below 3 feet at the gauge in North Creek through the weekend. The Racket River will be a bit below 4.5 feet at Piercefield, and the lake gauge a little north of Whitehall has fallen to a little under 97 feet. Water temperatures are now mostly in the 60s. Mirror Lake is about 70 degrees, and Lake George and Lake Champlain are mostly in the lower 60s. It's going to be a busy weekend around the Adirondacks, especially in the Lake George area where Americade is underway. Expect to encounter a lot of motorcycles on the roadways. Those are the outdoor conditions in the Adirondacks this weekend. For North Country Public Radio, this is John Warren from the New York Almanac. Online at NewYorkAlmanac.com.
You're listening to Northern Light right here on North Country Public Radio. It's just about 20 after 8. I'm Monica Sandreski. Support for the station comes from Cloud Splitter Foundation, applauding the Ausable River Association, which helps communities monitor and protect Adirondack streams and lakes. More at ausableriver.org, and NCC Systems, protecting North Country businesses and homes for 50 years, offering cameras, security, fire alarms, and entry control. NCCsystems.com. Many galleries in the region host these juried art shows, competitive events for artists to see how their work stands up to their counterparts. And in Glens Falls, the Hyde Collection hosts a juried show for young artists. This spring, more than 500 teenagers from Scroon Lake, Lake George, North Warren, and Ticonderoga submitted work for inclusion at the show at the Hyde. Ultimately, 200 were chosen by a jury of local artists to go on display. I caught up with Caitlin Foley, the education coordinator at the Hyde, and she says the high school juried show is a celebration of these young artists and an important way for students and their community to take joy in their creativity.
What I have heard is that it's such an honor to have their work be recognized in a world-class museum right in their area. So it's really something to celebrate, and they do, and they share it with their family and their friends and their school communities. I've been seeing just a few press announcements just this week from the schools themselves, just celebrating the students that have made it into this final round.
Students created paintings and snapped photographs. Foley described one of the finalists, a kiln-fired sculpture by Glens Falls High Schooler Sterling Towers, who also shared a recording of himself describing his work.
This is a ceramic piece, so it's so wonderful that the submissions that we get for the show every year include a wide variety of mediums. And this is one of the ceramic pieces that is in the show. This piece is smaller. It's a bowl that can be, the piece is named Spider Bowl, and it's a bowl that could be held in the cupping of the two of your hands, so it's not very large. And you look inside, and it has this beautiful, warm red color on the inside of the bowl. And you really continue to maybe go around the curves and look around the edge of the bowl. And then all of a sudden, along the edge, and you really have to look underneath it because the bowl does not come, the sides of the bowl do not come totally up vertically. And so you look under the edge, maybe as you're holding it, and don't be alarmed because there is this image of a rather large spider in black that has been, with glaze, the image has been able to stand out from the background image or the outside of the bowl. And so it's just a very unique piece. I don't think I had ever seen anything like this, certainly in this show, but in previous shows as well.
And that is a very realistic spider. And Sterling says that sort of taps into one of his interest areas.
This is another example of my creativity overflowing into a creation. I personally have taken an interest in incorporating different creatures in my artwork. I love nature, and I've always loved exploring and learning about nature. Ever since I was a kid, I've been interested in nature. Art gave me a way to express my love for nature. I personally never thought I was a great artist. That was until I started pursuing art, more specifically, different types of sculpture and ceramics. That is when I realized that if you really love something, then it's worth pursuing, putting in the time and the effort for it. Art has become a passion of mine, and I'm so glad I chose to pursue it. It's another avenue for me that gives me the opportunity to use it as an escape for a moment from the world where I don't have to think about all the responsibilities and things to be done. So, if you are on the fence about if you should give art a chance, say yes to art, because my younger self would have never imagined how far I've gotten today by pursuing art.
Oh, Sterling, say yes to art. He is speaking directly to my heart. What I so appreciate about Sterling is his maturity and really understanding the why art is essential in our lives. Maybe these students might not go on to be professional artists. Some of them may, but what is really exemplified in Sterling's statement is that art is an important part of everyone's existence, whether or not it's something that you try out for an escape, or it's something that helps you work through something else. It's maybe something that helps you think about something in a different way, but that art really is essential.
That was Caitlin Foley, the education coordinator at the Hyde Collection, talking about Glens Falls High Schooler Sterling Towers, one of the winners of the North Country High School Juried Art Show at the gallery. There are a few other winners, including Haley Ham of South Glens Falls High School, Emma Nero and Sophia Verdu of Saratoga Springs High School, Camden Champaign and Nicholas Ogden of Queensbury High School, Audrey Cook of Ticonderoga Central School, Laura Stanko of Lake George High School, and McKenna McWhorter of Argyle Central School. Huge congratulations to everyone who submitted. It is so awesome. We'll have images of their work and their statements on our website later this morning at ncpr.org. This is the last weekend to see their work on display, so head out and support our young artists. You can find out more at hydecollection.org. There are so many events going on throughout our community this weekend and throughout the summer, including out in Essex County. This coming weekend, Piano by Nature presents a musical gem as the Great Adirondack Wild and Live Outdoor Music come together. Pianist Ben Cosgrove will improvise a one-of-a-kind musical journey to celebrate National Trails Day at the Essex Quarry Cats Trail on Saturday afternoon at 3 o'clock. Then on Sunday afternoon, also at 3, he'll be performing something equally unique inside at the Hand House Parlor in Elizabethtown. Both piano concerts will explore ways in which music can help to create a sense of belonging in this place at this time. For details and to see more events in our region this weekend, visit NCPR's community calendar at ncpr.org/calendar. Also want to put in a plug for the Howell Story Slam coming up this coming Thursday with the Adirondack Center for Writing. It's coming up in Brant Lake, and you are invited. The Howell Story Slam features 5-minute true stories with no notes and no props. The theme is school days. Join us at the Hub on Market Street in Brant Lake at 7 o'clock Thursday, June 8th. Learn more about the Howell at ncpr.org/Howell. Also, so many concerts and music events to check out throughout the summer and throughout the region and throughout the community. Later this summer, Ursa Minor and the Major Key, the Plattsburgh-based group, will be performing in Blue Mountain Lake. We get a bit of a preview of their concert. This is their song, Don't Think It Even Matters.
When she turns round, the
it for the show for the day. Morning edition continues in just a couple of minutes. Then stick around for the Marketplace Morning Report coming up between 8:51 and 9 o'clock. We hope you have such a good weekend this weekend. Get outside. It's going to be beautiful. Todd will be back on Monday. I know. I miss him too. It's 8:30.